right now we'll be creating our front end or what the user sees. So in the concept of model template view framework, we call them the templates. So templates consist of our user interface or anything front end related that allows us to communicate or allows our system or our program to communicate with our end users. So how do we create a template? So first, visit your environment, open your environment, go to your project, and then go to your application. So as you can see, currently here, we do not have anything yet for our template. So the idea is for us to create a directory or a folder, which should be named as templates. Okay. So this is a default. This will be located by your project itself. Okay. So upon creating your template, so within these directory, within this folder, every HTML file that we will create shall be stored on this directory. Okay, so for now, let us create an index file, which will allow us to display all our created or all of our stored data in our database. So under templates, let me create a new file. I'll be saving this as index.html. Okay, so within our index.html, so as simple as I'll be using an HTML5 template. So we have here this one. So for now, let us leave these as is. Okay, so let's go back to the concept of model template view framework. With the idea of model template view, for the template to get contents from the model, remember, we need to have a view. Remember, view serves as the bridge. View serves as the connection or the middleman between our templates and our models. So we have our model. We have created a simple template. So right now, we needed to create a view that enables us to get values from the model and then throw those values back to our template. Okay, so let's have our views.py. Take note, this is under our application. So open the views.py. So for now, we'll be changing this view that we have pre-created before, because what we wanted to return is, of course, something that should be useful on our template created. Okay, so I'll be removing this one first. I'll be using the same function, which is index, which the ideal or typical is the name of your template should also be the name of your function or the name of your view, so that on some points there will be no confusions if you have a longer code or something like that. Okay, the first one is we need to target our template. So I'll be naming here template equal to then the name of your template file. So on this case, we'll be targeting index.html. Then again, we wanted to get data from our data storage. So how do we do that? Take note, those are stored in the models.py. So if we visit models.py, we could see here that we have here the class student. So right now, the views.py does not know who models.py is. Now let's introduce by importing from dot. We can do this from dot, then import models. We could do this. Or there is another way. You can do as well from dot models, import, and then if you want to import specific classes as well. But I think the first one is more useful if we have more models to import. So I'll be using the first one. Now, let's create a variable which will hold all of the details that we will get from our data storage. Again, we will be getting everything. So let's say, for example, I will name this in plural form. So we know that it is retrieving multiple data. So from here, students, so models dot the name of our class, student dot, and then objects, because we are selecting objects. Typically, every row, we are selecting every row. So it's called objects dot. For us to be able to select everything within our database, we will use all. So the idea of all is like, um, let me comment this one. It's like the select asterisk from our database, okay? Or our table, I should say. The purpose of all is something like this one. It is selecting everything, okay? So upon selecting this, one thing that we needed to return as well using the render is a context. So what is a context? Context is a dictionary that allows us to return multiple values or multiple keys with corresponding values, which enables us for those contexts to be used on our template. So we can pass actually anything. We can pass actually everything that we want from the view to our template. So I want to give a title. So my title would be, let's say, student list, because we are displaying everything. And then I want to pass, of course, all of my selected students. So I will pass these created variable, which is a list of our objects, all selected from our database or table student. So the keys here are the reference that will be known by your HTML file or will be known by your template. These are the values that correspond to our keys. Okay. Now, having the request, the template, and the context, we can now return using render. So render typically looks for the following: the request, the template, and the context. So we'll be returning the request, the template, and the context. So it's not necessary for us to use variables at most of time. Let's say, for example, I wanted to throw in index.html directly here. It's okay. There are no problems on that part. Just so happen, I'm giving you this code for you to have a templated return. So every time you needed a request, it's thrown to your parameter. Every time you needed a template, we have here our variable template, and then we have here our dictionary context. So from then on, you can use that pattern every time you have a template that needed a view, that needed as well data coming from your model. Okay. So having this, let's just recheck our URL to how we can visit this index view. So visiting the urls.py. So we have here an empty one and a new one. I think we'll retain the empty one. So I'll be removing this. So that means if we visited, sorry, wrong click. If we visited our localhost 127.0.0.1 port 8000 slash my app slash empty, we'll be visiting views.index. And then if we visit the index, remember, we are already displaying a template. Okay. So let's try to run our server. Well, typically nothing should happen yet because we have not modified our index.html yet. But just for us to see, are there any encountered errors or what? So currently we do not have any issues identified. So let's visit our server. It's 127.0.0.1 port 8000. we have an empty page because again, our code here does nothing. So if we wanted to see any difference, let's add some text. Let's say I want an H1. Okay, I just wanted to say hello, just for us to see. So just refresh this one. So we have here hello. So on this point, as you could see, we can now access an existing index file or an HTML file. Okay, so we are now already using an HTML file. Okay, so of course, what we wanted is to display this, to display the data that we have retrieved, right, from our model. Okay, so again, it's the context that are useful. Again, to compare on JavaScript, the context here is like your JSON object. Okay, it has a corresponding key and a corresponding value, which are useful for us when dealing with multiple files or multiple contents. So we have a title and a students. So on the title, I want to change the document here. Let me zoom this one in. So the title should be seen on our here, the title on the tab. So currently it's document. So let's change that to the title that we have from our context. So here's the thing. If we wanted to get a value coming from the context, or typically value display using the Django Web Framework, we use double braces. Okay, so I have a title. Let me save this one, and then let me refresh this one. Okay, so the title here should be students list. So as you could see, it's already students list. Okay, student list. Because again, that's what we have provided as a value of the title. Again, this will be used by our template. So as you can see, I use title here, I use title here. Okay, and then we have got the value. Now we wanted to get the displays of from our database. Remember, I think we have stored 3 the last time. So we cannot use a simple display because there are 3 values. So typically we need to iterate. Okay. So if you wanted to do some iterations like that, if you wanted to deal with such, we'll be needing some Python codes, like a for loop, I should say, because we're dealing with an object and the object iteration is a for loop. So if we are dealing with some commands from Python, we cannot use this delimiter. So the delimiter that we needed to use is this delimiter. So it starts with the outermost is our braces and then percentages. And then now we can have here our iteration. So for student in students, remember variable and object. One thing, it's not as typical as your for on our basic Python. We do not need the colon, but we needed another delimiter here, which defines the end of our loop. So do not forget to add an end for. Now within the for, we can now navigate our iteration using the variable student. So let's use H1 for now, just for now. No, I think H1 is way too big. H3. I want H3 for the student number. So remember, it's the double braces if you wanted to display anything. So student dot student number. Okay. This is one way of retrieving. And then I wanted the name to be as simple as a paragraph. So I have here, let me add a typical label. So first name is retrieved from our data, which is student dot first name. And then for the last name, So we'll do something like this one. So let's save this. Then let's see what would happen on our output. So we have here our output. We have here our student number, and then our first name, our last name. We can do some modifications on the display of our output, and it's up to us already. I'm just showing you how you can manipulate your template or your HTML file coming from the data that we have retrieved given by our view. Okay, so that's one thing. And this is an example of one of the CRUD functions, which is the data retrieval.